Excuse me. Hey, Judy. Glad you signed on. Have a good time at the pool. Or I hope you had a good time at the pool by the time you get to watch this. Hi everybody, welcome to StashBlaster Quilts. My name's Maria and I'm here to help you make more quilts in less time with less stress. Speaking of less stress, if you didn't see the notes in the chat, Judy, poor thing, is in California and heading for the pool, so she's going to have to watch later. Which means if she's heading for the pool, it must not be raining. I am so tired of all the rain we've had lately. I don't think there's been a day that it hasn't rained for quite a while. So I'm in Virginia, and Judy normally is too, but now she's in California, so I'm going to have to grill her like a trout and find out what's going on her trip and if she had a good time. But anyway, welcome. If this is your first time here, I am a professional organizer by trade, so I always start with a tip, and then I'll fill you in on what I'm doing with the quilting that I'm doing, and then we'll do some sewing together. So my tip for this time harkens back to a challenge that one of my guilds had, which was the JOT challenge, just one thing. And I've talked about it here on the channel before, but way back at the beginning. And the idea is this: you can reduce any task, any goal, down to segments that are so ridiculously easy you have no excuse to not do it. Okay? So here's an example. Let's say you wanted to run a marathon. Okay? That's a huge goal with a huge commitment. Maybe the first day is to put your sneakers next to the bed. And then the next day is to put on the sneakers and wear your running shoes all day. And then maybe it's to walk out onto your front porch and then walk back in. So each step is microscopic. So when you're running, I'm going to go one more square. Okay? I was doing this for a little while in November, a couple of years ago, when I was afraid I was going to be pushing my husband around in a wheelchair for a while. And in order to build up my strength, and we have some hills here, I was walking after dinner every day. And even on the days that I was tired, I had to do what I did yesterday, plus one square. But by the time I got there, I did it yesterday, I knew I could do it, right? I could do one more square. That's 3 feet. It's not a big, it's 2 steps. It's not a big deal. And so you can keep building like that. So when it comes to your sewing, you can do just one thing. Maybe you walk into the sewing machine, into your sewing area, you turn on your machine and you turn on your iron. Then you turn off your iron, you turn off your machine, and you walk out because you're having a busy day. But you did something. Why would you want to do that? It's because getting started is the hardest part. It's setting aside the thought that I am going to go sew now, and going to the room and turning on the machine and sitting down behind it. Well, you know, once you've done that, sure, sew a couple of seams, right? So I'm working on this wedding quilt for my son. And he has promised not to watch this channel until his quilt is completely finished, for him and his wife. They got married in February, and I'm doing a temperature quilt of their first year. So every day, I need to cut out the pieces for one house. And I didn't do it for a while, so I'm behind right now, okay? The last 2 weeks, I cut out a ton of houses. But that's it. All I have to do is cut out one house. Now, what does one house entail? It entails the body of the house, not the roof. Okay, just the body. It includes 2 strips of green that are 2 1/4 by 3/4 of an inch. 2 strips of my house color that are the same. A 1 by 1.5 inch door. A 1 by 3/4 inch number plate. a 1.5 inch piece of the house and 3 1-inch squares. I actually only need 2 for the house, but when I'm cutting, I cut 1 more because I'm going to do a thing on the back of the quilt using the extra ones, which ought to be pretty cool. That's all there is. It's not that big a deal, and I did a lot of these using my drawer full of 1-inch strips. So as long as I had a 9.5 inch strip, I can cut out a whole body of a house. And what does that look like? I should have pulled one out. I'm going to do it right now. So this is the body of the house. Okay? So I've got the grass on both sides, got my door, and then I've got my house number area. Now my house number is going to be the date. So I know because this house is pink, if it's pink or red, it means the temperature, the high for the day was in the 70s. If it's the low, it's the roof color. Okay? But I'm cutting one of these out per day. That's my goal. Don't even have to sew it, just cut it out. Takes under 5 minutes, takes under 10 inches of fabric. Okay? It's done. It's just done. Now, on days when I have more time, I go through my scrap bin and I pull out chunks of fabric that I haven't processed yet, so that instead of processing it into strips, I can just take what I need and then I'll process what's left at a later date. So 1 house body a day is my thing. And I do it at night, downstairs in front of the TV, usually in the last hour before going to bed. It's very few cuts, it's very easy to do, and I know that I'm not getting any further behind, with the exception of the roofs, but that'll give me my 1 house per day. So I'm really not, yes, I'm losing a little bit of ground because I have to sew on 2 triangles, but I'm almost keeping even by doing it that way. And then if I have a day that I do 2 houses, I'm ahead. So it's just an easy way to get it going. So that's what I'm doing. So over the last couple of weeks, I processed a lot of house bodies. And so just in the red category, I had all of these cards that I cut up. So there's 5 cards that had 8 houses on each. Okay? So in 2 weeks, look at how many houses I did. All right? This is great. So I did almost a month, and, well, no, that's not true. I did 40, so I did more than a month. But that's just cutting them out, okay? Now, yes, sewing time is more, etc., etc., so I do need to put in some days of accomplishing more than 1 house. But like I told the kids, I can't even finish collecting the data for a year from their wedding. And then I get another year after that to finish the quilt. So I'm still ahead of the game. I could have waited till the end and then started, but now I'm going to be fairly close. As I get closer to the end, I'm going to have to be a little bit more strategic than I'm being right now, and I'll explain how in a second. But it's going to be really cute when it's done, and I'm not going to be just a slave to my machine next February, and that's important. Okay, so these are just the reds that I did. I also cut out some oranges and some purples and some other ones. So it was a good couple of weeks in terms of being able to cut those. These piece together pretty quickly. There's not that many seams. It's nice straight sewing. It's not a problem. So how do I know how many to make? Now I've shown you my chart here before. Okay, this has, okay, it has the date. Here, let me go here. It has the date, the high, and the low for each day. And so I'm done through the end of June. I've marked on my chart. But when I'm sitting there and I'm sewing, how do I know how many of each thing I need to do? Well, I created another chart, sort of. I think I'll need to put this on the other camera to make it easier for you to see. Hold on. Let me switch cameras. Okay, hold on. Can you see that? No. Wow, that's bad. Hold on. I thought I had this so it would work. I don't know why it's so bright. Huh. I'm blowing this out and I shouldn't be. Let's go back to the other camera. Yeah, okay. Well, I've done it in pencil, so that's why a little bit hard to see. So here's my temperatures. Here's the color that goes with the temperature. This is as of 6:30. And I have here, it's still hard to see, but let's go down here to the yellow. Let me see here. Okay. I'm doing this upside down and backwards. So I need 10 yellows as of right now. I have 1 that's complete, and I have 5 more cut out. These ones that have the check mark and over, it means I've cut out more houses than the number tells me I need. Now, why did I do that? Well, temperatures over the course of the year are going to be like a bell curve, right? They started out low, so I had some days under 30 degrees as the high, right? And then they go up, and then somewhere here this summer it's going to peak out. I'm hoping we don't have any 100-degree days, but if we do, we do. It has a color. Anything 100 or plus is going to be white. And then we go down the other side. So my red and pink is 70 degrees. I had 37 70-degree days so far this year. I know I'm going to have more on the other side. Exactly how many, I don't know. But I know that I'm going to have more on the other side at a minimum of 10, right? So I can cut out extra houses in the red family now and sew them while I'm doing the reds. Fewer thread changes, right? And so I've cut ahead some. Once we start going down the back side of the curve, I'm going to be much more careful and only make what I need. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. So as of right now, I need 2 black or gray houses for under 30 degrees, and I've made 5 and I cut out another one, so I'm gambling on that one. Any extra houses can go on the back. It's not a big deal. I need 4 brown houses. I've cut out 10. I haven't made any yet, but I've cut out 10. Green I need 6. I've cut out 7. Purple I need 20 so far, and I've only cut out 13. So purple is something that I can be cutting out soon. Blue I need 28, and I only have 19 so far, so that's my next category after the purple. Red I need 37, and I have 52, right? Because I know that the 70s and 80s are going to be big. Orange I need 28 so far, and I have 30. And yellow, I have had 10 so far because that's the 90-degree temperatures, and I've got 6 so far. So I know I need more yellows. But by marking it this way, when I am grabbing a bag of scraps, because I keep my scraps by color, I can just grab a bag of the appropriate color, take it downstairs, dunk the fabric, press it flat, and cut it, and it's ready to go. And at this point, I can overdo. It doesn't matter that much. It's going to be the back side where I'll be more careful. But right now, I got plenty. Now, I've done the same thing with the roofs. But, of course, roofs are at a lower temperature because there are low temperatures for the day. So, while we've had 80s and 90s during the day, we haven't gone over 79 so far in our lows for the day. So I've got a whole lot more roofing I need to do in the lower temperatures. So I don't have any of those that are over. The only thing I have so far is I have the 22 brown roofs I need for this point. I know I'm going to need more browns later, right? So the nice thing about the roofs is they all have green triangles on the sides. So at any time, all I have to do is have green thread in my machine, and I can just quickly pop off a roof without a problem. Again, as we get closer, I'll have to be more careful, but I know we're going to have temperatures under 30 by February next year. But I will not attach them to the houses until I know which go with what. Okay? But they are independent. So I could just sit here. Let's say I sewed for an hour. I could probably sew 20 to 25 house roofs. Not a problem. So that's why I'm not too worried about how long they're going to take, because I don't have any thread changes if I'm sewing roofs. I'll just use the green thread. So it's just going to crank out super easy. But I have it all on this card. So whenever I update my, my chart here, I can add to the how many I need column and see, do I need to make any more reds or oranges or greens or blues or whatever, and what my current run is. And then when we get closer, I will of course double check all these counts, and I'll start assigning them to their places on the quilts and then putting the house numbers in. But overall, it's very easy to keep track of this way. Really, this is the only thing I need. When I go downstairs, if I have this, I can be cutting out pieces. And it just makes life a lot easier if you don't have a lot that you have to track. Now, there's a lot of extras I'm going to put into this quilt that you guys are going to see as we get there. And some of you already know about. But the basic houses are pretty quick and easy to do. And you're going to watch me. I'm going to start sewing some of these. I'm not going to finish any particular house necessarily today, because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, I might, if I get impressed, I might be able to finish a bunch of houses today. But with the thread colors I have in, I have several packets of houses that oh, that just flew right off. That I'm able to do the initial sewing on. And then I'll just assemble those segments, because each house, here, let me pull that out again. Okay. So, in sewing this house, I have 3 horizontal seams. I have the door to the lintel, and then I have both sides of the number. So that each one of these makes 1 unit. So I have 1 unit that's pink and green. I have 1 unit that's pink and door. I have 1 unit that's 2 pinks and the number, and then another unit that's pink and green. So when you look at this, there's only 4 units that I'm building, 2 of which are exactly the same, that being these 2 on the outside, just flipped. So the ones that are all the same thread color, I can just do and create each unit, and then press everything, and then assemble those 4 units, press it again, and it's done. Then it's just trimming up, adding the roof later, and that house is complete. So I've picked out all of the pink houses that the threads work with that I pulled, but when I'm going to go to some of these darker colors compared to this, right, I'm going to need to change threads. So rather than doing it 27 times every time I want to do a new house, I'm doing them by, that's pretty close, right? Because that'll be fine in the seam allowances. I have been asked again, why do I not just use like a gray? I could certainly sew this with light gray and dark gray. You wouldn't want to use a really dark gray on the really light fabrics and vice versa. You could just pick a medium and just go for it. I have a ton of thread on bobbins, so it's really easy for me to pop them in and out, and this is a good way to use them up. B, because these houses are so small, it is more likely that people are going to be looking at them more closely, because they're going to want to see the house numbers and all of the extra littles I'm going to be doing. And so I want it to be even less noticeable, and with small pieces, the stitches appear larger and more visible than if they were on bigger pieces. So that's one reason why I'm doing the color matching. That's another reason why. So you may not need to. You may not need to. Any quilt that you're doing, you don't need to necessarily do thread changes. I just have a lot of thread in a lot of different colors, so this is one way that I am using to go ahead and use it up. Okay? So let's go with it. Oh, and so this is another one of the colors. There's not a whole lot on here, You can see that, right? It's a clear bobbin, so there's not a ton of thread. If it gets down too low that it's not worth keeping as a bobbin, then I don't have any cards here. Hold on. I have this jar. Okay, it's an old M&M's jar. And you can see here, there's something inside. So what's inside? I have little cards that I made, kind of like what you can get in a sewing kit when you get the ones from the from hotels or whatever. I do have some of those actual ones, and then I have some that I myself have cut out of like cream cheese boxes and stuff. That's what this is here. And I just put little notches in there with my zigzag blade for my rotary cutter. And so I cut these, and then I wrap those little bits of thread around this, and then when I am traveling and I'm doing color matching for anything, or when I'm picking my clothes, I will pick threads that match my clothes in case I have to mend or repair a tear or something. I can just grab these little cards of what I need and know that I have enough to do that. Right now, my big carry around handwork project is on hold because I've been having some trouble with my thumbs. But it's a grandmother's flower garden, and so when I was sewing the flowers together, I was color matching, and that was really handy. And I could take that, throw it in my little travel kit, and just have the colors that I need. So I don't waste any of the thread. I'm a little bit of a cheapskate because these things cost money. But also, if I can avoid putting it in a landfill, I do. So my scraps that I keep are insanely small. And I have a friend who does confetti quilts, and so a couple of times a year I ship her a box of confetti. And that's all my thread tag ends and all my little trims and all of that. I send them to her, and then she puts them into confetti quilts. So I really don't waste anything I don't need to. So for me, that's a big thing with the thread, because a piece of thread this long, you can't really have through your machine. In fact, it won't even reach through your machine. But this is plenty to sew a flower in a flower garden. So why take it off a new spool? Take up that piece you have. So that's what that's all about. Okay, so just one thing. That's what that all started, was just one thing. Now, the Grandma's Flower Garden, like I said, is on hold. Until my hands recover, it's going to have to be. My goal had been to put one arc onto each flower every day. I just have not been able to do it. And I don't want to let my hands get any worse by pushing it that hard. Given what I do, I use my hands a lot anyway, so I'm trying to be extra careful. I'm being careful not to lift too much. They're doing a lot of stuff along those lines just to make sure that I'm giving my hands a chance to heal. Now, I am going to be going on flights to Kansas City later this year, and then out to Bellevue, Washington. Those are long flights. I'm hoping that my hands will have recovered where I can at least do a little bit on those. I don't like not having something to do with my hands. And if I can't sew, I tend to be scrolling on my phone. And these days, not so sure being on the phone is a good thing. The news that's out there, it's not good. I don't care which side of the political spectrum you're on. Both sides are unhappy, and both sides are yelling, and both sides are mean. So I'm done. So I am trying to avoid going through and streaming news or anything that might be questionable. And I have been surprised at how many of the shows that I watch, like on YouTube like this or others, where they start talking about politics, and it's enough. I'm done. So this is my rant on politics, but mine is not one side or the other. But I'm trying to avoid being on my phone and getting sucked down into the endless swirl of shorts and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really hoping my hands come back. All right, so I forgot about the studio mode thing. So let me see if I can get this to work. Hold on, it's not doing it. Now will that switch? What I'm trying to do, yeah, it's this camera that is so bright. That's weird. Alright, I'm going to turn off this light on this side. Yeah, that is really... there's a problem here with this camera, I think. Alright, well, I'm going to move it as much as I can and away from the light as much as I can, and I'm going to hope you'll be able to see well enough. It's not going to be great, though. I don't know why it's being so difficult. I'm going to leave this side dark because it's just going to wash all of this out, and hope that you will be able to see. Okay, go to that. I'm going to switch the camera now. Yeah, see how bright this is? I don't know why it's doing this. It shouldn't be like this. But hopefully it's good enough for tonight. So, if you ever want to make one of these houses, it's my recommendation that you start with the piece. Here, let me move this back into place. With this one that has the 3 pieces. Okay? Yeesh, this is really ugly. With these 3. Okay? So, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lintel, not the lintel, the top of the section, and the number plate. Put those together. Now these are small pieces if you're building them the size I am. These houses are going to finish at 2 inches. The reason they're so small is in order to fit the top of the king-size bed, which is what my, not king-size, queen-size bed, which is what my son and his bride had. Oh, and my camera switchy thingy just fell. Hold on. I'm fixing it. Hold on. Okay. I think I'm going to switch back to the other camera. I'll just talk to you and I'll show you by holding stuff up. Because I don't think you're going to be able to see. Let me put that camera back on. So I'm going to be sewing as I'm sewing this upper piece to the number. Then I'm going to sew all the other units together, and then at the end I'll be able to clip this piece off, this pair, and sew this last piece on. So this unit is going to be first and last of my sewing, okay? So I just did the tall piece and the number together, and now I'm going to sew the square that's over the door, the lintel right here, to the door top. Okay, and I will see what I can do about this camera. It's not supposed to do that, so I want to make sure I get that taken care of. But my son and his bride are coming over on the 4th of July, so I'm hoping maybe I can peel him away for a couple of minutes between gaming and get him to look at this, because that's not right. It's not supposed to be like that. Oh, so what I was going to show you, I have stilettos, and I do occasionally use them, but my favorite tool for helping to guide fabric through my machine to the feed dogs is actually this. This is a cocktail fork. It came in this little cup that was attached to a wooden cup that was attached to a windmill. There's like 10 of these in there. And what's nice is I can use the one end, if I just want to use the one end for something like turning a tube, or just because I only want to use one end to guide the material. But I like having the 2 points. Here we go, right there. Because then I can guide right up to the needle with those 2 points and still have that little bit on each side. Now, yes, the feed dogs do get involved and the foot gets involved, but I can get a lot closer with this without having to worry about hitting the needle. So with these tiny pieces, it's not uncommon for me to leave this in my hand and I'm guiding and I just drop it down, push things through, flip it back up, and then grab my next things. So you might be hearing me put it up or down, but you might be wondering what weird contortions I'm doing with this hand, since you can't see it that well. But that's what I'm doing. Okay, so I've done the door unit, and I've done one of the side units. I'm going to do the other one of the sides. Now in this particular case, I have 2 of the same house. I did not realize that till I was pulling the threads, that I had duplicated the fabric. I don't care. They can be on opposite sides of the quilt, and if the people in my neighborhood just happen to use the same thing, I'm fine. I really don't care that much. But I can also put one of them on the back, so it's fine. I'll pick the one whose door I like the best, or that goes better with the neighbors, and go from there. Okay, so I have cut off the previous house, and then I'm going to cut off that first unit that I made. See, there it is, the number piece right there, and my larger rectangle. So I'm going to fold this back, because this is where the house number is going to go, and like I said, that's the date, so they'll be able to see what was going on a particular date. I'm going to pair this up and then run it through. Now I am hoping, those of you in the surveys that I've done and just in general conversation have told me that you've kind of enjoyed the sit and sews. Those tend to run like 3 hours. And it's just me here with my headphones on, the sewing machine buzzing. And you can join me and sew right along with whatever project you're doing. You can chat with me. You are welcome to send me photos or questions at any time. You don't need to do it at a sit and sew. All you have to do is send it to mail@StashBlasterQuilts.com. And my website is StashBlasterQuilts.com. You can send me questions there anytime, and I'll be more than happy to answer them either individually if it's something really specific, or if it's something I think other people would also enjoy knowing. I'll do it right here, again, at the beginning of the session, so you'll be able to clue in just for that part if that's all you're interested in. With the sit and sews, though, I have my headphones on because I'll be listening to music or a book on tape or things like that. And if it's just turned on in the room such that you could hear it, it's a copyright infringement. And I can lose my channel and everything. And I don't want that. It's taken me quite a while to build up to you folks. And one of the reasons is because the algorithm does not consider live the same way as it does recorded and edited things. It doesn't get nearly the push that things like a pre-recorded and edited video would. So the fact that there's 60 of you makes me very, very happy. This particular thing is never going to be a million follower kind of thing. If at some point I can do videos, that will drive higher numbers, but this is here so I can talk with you. You can chat back with me, ask me questions, that kind of stuff. So that's all there is to that. Okay, so that first house that I started just a couple of minutes ago is done. The house is not done, excuse me. All of the units have been sewn together. And so I'm going to go ahead and go to the next house. This way I can chain everything together and not have to do leaders and enders, nor do I need to have the extra thread out that I have to hold down to make sure I don't wind up the bird's nest. So that saves me thread as well. So, alright, so what I'm doing is I'm just laying out my pieces so I can just grab and run them through. So this is really quite a simple project, but I'm having a really good time doing it. And I really think the kids are going to like it. I've warned them, I'm always going to call them the kids. I don't care how old they get to be. So it works for me. Okay, so I'm going to again start with the larger piece that the house numbers go on. I'm going to do it in exactly the same order I did it before. So I'm going to do this first. Oops. There's this little shelf on the bottom of this desk, and it likes eating my my power foot, my you know what I mean, pedal. That's the word I was looking for. So every once in a while I have to use my toes and grab it back out. Okay, so that's the first half of that unit. And now I'm going to do the door with the lintel. And then I'm going to do the sides, the first side. I will tell you, Quilt Camp was a lot of fun, and getting those 31 houses done in those 3 days was great. Because it was really nice to see all this cut work that I've done, because it doesn't feel like you've accomplished a whole lot when you're just cutting the pieces. But when you see them start turning into houses and people coming by and going, ooh, that feels pretty good. So I'm going to cut off between the number unit and the door, right? So this is this house, this is the last house. Cut off the last house. Dump it in the stack for ironing. Then I'm going to fold the number back and do the last seam, and then this house unit will be done. Okay. And now another house. This one's kind of fun. It's got these cute leaves that are half hot pink and half green. So I picked a white door in this case. I need to have some white doors because one of the special things I'm going to be doing is if there's a birthday or an anniversary on that date, I'm going to embroider a little thing on the door itself. And that's easier to do if it's not a pattern like this. So I am making sure I have a few white houses in each color family at this point, and then if I need more later, I'll know. But by doing it that way, I can have colored doors for a lot of them, but still have the white ones pop out, and that'll make it easier to see the embroidery. So that's why I'm doing a white door on this house. Oh, I have mostly recovered from the oral surgery, so that's good. I I had a tooth pulled, and they put in all the bone graft stuff back here to try to have my jaw build back up so we can do an implant. So it looks like we'll be doing that like in September, October. At this point, given how much traveling I'm going to be doing in September for conferences, which is usually June. I don't know why this year September's the month. It's all different conferences, but they all pick September, seems like. I've got 3 plus a half-day training I'm doing in 2.5 weeks. Excuse me. So I'm going to wait pretty much until I'm done with that, all of that kerfluffle, and then I'll be able to take some time. I have other speeches I'll be giving, but it'll be nice if I don't have a whole ton to do. Because I have to believe that even though they said that the worst part was getting that tooth out, because it did not come easy, it put up a fight, that I'm still going to want a few days to recover before I have to talk a lot. And when I'm training, I talk a lot. I tell a lot of stories and all of that, and so it'll be best if I can have a good start with that. All right, we have 20 minutes left. It looks like that I'll have these next 3 houses done, and maybe be pressing and starting to do some assembly. That'd be nice. You are, of course, welcome to chat at any point. Ask me any questions while we're here. Some of you I know just like to kind of lurk. You're here with us right now, but you don't want to talk, and that's perfectly fine. In fact, let me see. How many of you are there? Oh, there's only one of you on right now. There's been 3 of you who've looked. But a lot of you watch it later. So, like Judy was saying that she was going to the pool, but she was gonna follow in later. That's a little bit harder to build the community, but that's okay. We'll get there. That is one of my goals: is to have a group where people chit chat and share projects and that kind of stuff. Because here on the Zoom, I can put your photos into a PowerPoint and then share them with other people. So that would be a lot of fun. I think probably most people will choose to do that at the sit and sews because they're longer. But you never know. So it'll be cool if we can make it work. Okay, this is a white on white, so I'm just double checking to make sure I've got it right side up, because it's not an easy one to tell. White on white is one of my favorites. When I'm piecing quilts and stuff that I just want to have look crisp and clean. Because it's not the same as just white. Because I'm using a plain white for the number squares, but that's because I have to write on them. And if they're white on white, there can be a textural difference, and so my pen would go crazy. So in this particular case, this is the door I'm talking about. That's the white on white. I can embroider through that. It won't be a big deal. But the oh, I lost what I was going to say. Well, it's not that big a deal. Can't be. I haven't talked about anything super duper important tonight, especially since we're avoiding politics. No, let's see, I cut the wrong things, but that's okay, because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure this one whole house is together, and then I'll have a little pile of this other house, and it's not a big deal. Let's talk about why I like white on white. Oh, because it's crisp and clean. But I will say that while I do have plain white for things like the numbers, I prefer the color on color because it adds a little bit of extra dimension. But here's the thing. If you're going to have, if you don't have enough material to do the whole quilt, the same fabric to do the whole thing, make sure you have 4 or 5 minimum of that background color. So what do I mean? If I want a white background, I'm going to cut my pieces not just out of one piece of fabric that's white on white, but 5 different ones. So some will have swirls, some might have dots. The door to this little house has circles. They're all going to catch light slightly differently. They're all going to look a little bit different. But I can't tell you how many times I've seen people who run out of fabric and there's like 2 squares left, or 2 parts of squares left, and so they substitute in another one and it's not an exact match, and you can tell. You can tell. Even if you try not to, you can tell. If, however, it's your plan and you have 5 or 6 or 10 or 12 in the quilt, then if there's more of one than another, it doesn't matter. It's obviously intentional, and so it reads more evenly. So that's the recommendation with that, is that you make sure that you have multiples, whether it's shades of black, because there's more shades of black than there are of any other colors, which is just weird to me. But that's what they told me at the place where they make color. And I went on a pigment class, which was very cool. And they showed how they make pigments for ink and fabrics and things like that. And they're the ones that told me that, so I have to believe them. Yeah, I keep dropping pieces tonight. But since I'm driving barefoot, I can just pick them up with my toes and then pick them up in my hand afterwards. So that's fine. Okay. 2 houses left. Oh, so what I did with these white pieces is I cut up a whole bunch of the numbered pieces and I just clipped them on 3x5 cards. Everything is on 3x5 cards using these micro binder clips, and it works so nicely because they all stay together. They don't give me any problems, and I can just grab what I need. I have another one with just the triangles from roofs. I have a different card for every roof color. So, you know, I've got a card that has the brown roofs, etc., etc., even though they haven't been sewn yet. It just makes life so much easier to stay and keep everything organized and together. And then we can mess around with any detailing that needs to be done after. So I've done the number and the door for this light pink thing. It's got drawn on flowers plus polka dots, so this one's kind of a busy one. Oh, if you're hearing that buzzy kind of hum, that's the fan on my computer. That started today too. So I don't know what to tell you. It's being a week. And so we're just gonna go with the flow. We're not gonna stress about it. Okay, so I'm just lining up the second of the 2 side units now. So I can run that through. Alright. I really do enjoy the fact that I get to sit and sew with you guys here. Don't always get to. If this is your first time here, we don't always get to do some sewing because sometimes there's a lot of updating to do. But you get to today, and that's kind of nice. I just wish that you could see the sewing machine. The camera that's up here is about 4 feet away from me, so I can't I can't reach it from here. And then this little guy, one that I can reach. Let me see if I can get him in range. No, no, he's not coming. I was hoping to show him off. He's the one that's casting everything in white. So those are my only two at the moment. I don't know if there's a setting that got messed up. I don't know. It's really weird. There shouldn't be any problems with it. I've used it a bunch lately. Oh, I have to teach a Zoom class tomorrow. Good thing I don't need that that camera. But I like it when everything works like it's supposed to. When it doesn't, it kind of makes me itchy. You know what I mean? Okay, so now, no, I ran out of numbers. Let me open a new pack. Just need one. Thank you. Oh, I did get a question. Binder clips. There are small binder clips. These are micro binder clips. They will sometimes be listed as 1/4 inch. They are not. I assumed that this was the 1/4 inch measurement. It's not. So let me get out my ruler here. Yep, that's what I thought. Okay. So the 1/4 inch. Let me open this close this like this. Let me see if I can make it angled so you can see it. Is this measurement across here? So it's a 1/2 inch this direction. I actually own some binder clips that are a 1/4 inch this way, the width-wise. Those are amazing, but I can't find them anywhere else. I just picked up a couple along the way that somebody had and had closed something with, and I kept the binder clip. But these micros are really nice. They work really well for all kinds of things, like binding, actual binding, as opposed to the office supply that this is. Okay, so all the time, people ask me what's the right way to do this or the right way to do that, because I'm a professional organizer. I do this stuff all the time. I can't tell you how often the best solution for my client does not reside in the department at Walmart or Target or whatever that corresponds to what I'm trying to do. Okay? Which sounds weird, but I don't necessarily use shoe storage boxes to store shoes so much as I do other things. Binder clips, I have thousands of them, and I use them in this sewing room all the time. I never hardly use them in my office. I think I have maybe 10 in my office if I want to clip things together, but I almost never use them there. But here, I will use the small size, which is larger than this, for putting on bindings as well. But I use these to keep pieces together and all kinds of stuff all the time. So I get some things that I use out of the kitchen supplies, the kitchen area or whatever, that I use in my office. So keep an open mind if you go shopping to see what's where and what you might have a better use for than what they say it's for. Because you might just find a really good diamond in the rough that is going to make your life a ton easier. I will also say the things that are labeled for a particular hobby, like quilter's spray starch. It's the same Niagara spray starch that you get in the laundry area, but it will cost you a lot less if you get it at the laundry area. So just kind of keep some of this stuff in mind, because sometimes labeling is what you're paying for. Kind of like the pink tax. You've probably heard about that, where the exact same razor is at a higher cost if it's pink versus if it's black, because black would be men and pink, only a woman would be getting pink, and so they charge us more. So it's the same kind of an idea. So just because something says it's for quilting or says it's for the kitchen or whatever, keep your mind open. I use all kinds of strange stuff in all kinds of strange ways because I'm just open to it. And I get some stuff at things like thrift stores because I don't need brand new, because I'm not using it in a way that I'd get all skeeved out that somebody owned it before. So there are some things I would not get at a thrift store just because it bothers me. That's things like dish drying racks or things along those lines. But there are some things that I'll get for a sewing area that I wouldn't use in my kitchen. For example, a drawer divider for like knife sets and things like that. I will happily put that in my sewing room because I'm not going to be eating off of it or having anything that I eat with in there. It's going to be holding things like rotary cutters. I'm not having it in my mouth. I don't have to worry about it. But anything that's going to go near my mouth, given what I do for a living, I tend to be a little overcautious about. Okay. Oh, and why is that? Because I don't just do normal organizing. I do work with people that hoard as well. So some of the houses I'm in are buggy and, you know, have had mice and things like that in the drawers. And so it's like, no. It is very difficult for me to eat anything unless I've seen the kitchen of the person who made it. I did take a gamble at quilt camp. I had not seen the kitchen, and they made the organizers made all the food, and so I ate it. I ate it, but it was a bit of a gamble for me, and I'm trying to get out of that problem that I have. But it's just been so long that that for me it makes a difference. So I have not eaten at just a full potluck dinner, you know, where you've got 50 people bringing food in forever, because I'm just like, I can't do it. I can't do it. Alright, so let me turn on my iron here. Yes, I know I should have done it before, but I didn't do it because I wasn't sure we were going to get this far. And then after this I'm going to be going downstairs, so if I wasn't going to be ironing, then I wasn't going to get it started. I know, there's only a few minutes left. So if this is your first time, I do try to start on time and end on time because I do respect your time and the fact that you've given it to me here. So even when I'm not done with something, I will generally go ahead and stop for the night. In fact, I think I am going to turn this off. Let me do that before I forget. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these downstairs where I have a big ironing board. It's also where I do a lot of my cutting. I'm going to get all of these pressed, and then the next time I come up here, I will be able to assemble them, because now I'll just have the 3 seams to put the house units together, and it'll be ready to go. So I will be doing that. Alright, I will have those on the wall behind me next time in 2 weeks. We're here the first and third Wednesday of the month from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We do have daylight savings time where I am, so factor that as appropriate. I start the live stream 15 minutes before we're going to start, approximately 10 to 20 minutes, usually around 15, before this actually starts. So you'll get the notification. That gives you time to get something to drink, maybe a snack, put your feet up on your recliner or wherever you're going to watch this, and sit down and relax and then join in. And that's why that 15 minutes is there. And so, of course, you can fast forward through that. That's not a big deal. But if you've enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. Hit the bell if you want to be notified when I'm going to be on. That's the only notification you're going to have for Sit and Sew. If I find that I have the time and I'm ready, then I will just come in, turn everything on, and go. So if you want to know that that's happening, the only way to know is to have the notifications on. But you will always find me here the first and third Wednesday of the month. If I have missed It is because I have not been able to get my laptop to do the live stream where I am when I'm traveling. So I try to give you a heads up that I'll be traveling the next time. But if I ever miss and there's not something, that goes up shortly thereafter, just assume that I was out of town. But for the most part, I'm here. I believe I'm going to miss one in September potentially, but I'm trying to get the laptop figured out. But other than that, I should be here pretty much the rest of the year. So please come first and third Wednesday of the month. Email me, mail at StashBlasterQuilts.com. Have a wonderful couple of weeks, and I'll catch up with you soon. Bye.